the next bout was Rhino versus James Storm. I actually like this feud, the idea of this feud. Rhino, he's had his personal problems, but he's been a solid worker, both in ECW, WWE, and now in TNA. He has been solid. Been there every time he's been asked to. He willingly put over Christian Cage more. So I'm liking the fact of James Storm getting a rub off of him. And the feud idea is also pretty interesting because it actually plays off of those personal problems that Rhino has had in the past, and with James Storm being the beer-swilling cowboy, going with the alcoholism angle was perfectly natural, and it makes for a good feud. So I like this feud, and I'm even more pleased with the result that James Storm got the win, because that elevates him. Because I think both James Storm and Chris Harris, now that they are on their own, to borrow a phrase from Jim Cornette, they are really ready to break the glass ceiling in TNA and become the TNA original superstars that they were with America's Most Wanted and continue to be now. I miss them in the tag division, but now that they are split apart, I'm really glad that they're starting to work with established veterans, and yes, Christian Cage does count as a veteran now, to get pushed up the ladder to where one of these days maybe they can be TNA World Champion. Alright. Next match of the night, Jerry Lynn and Mr. Backlund versus the Motor City Machine Guns. You know, Jerry Lynn being around, I don't mind so much, because, you know, he is 40 years old, which is relatively old by wrestling standards in today's era. But I've seen his matches. He can still go. I don't mind him being involved with Sabin and Shelley at all. But Bob Backlund, I mean, how old is he? 50, 60, 70? I mean, he was around, God, I don't know when, the 70s and 80s? And now they're trying to have him brought back in wrestling again. You know, there are just some people who, once they hang up the booze, should probably never come back. Yeah. Ric Flair, when he retires, I hope he never comes back to active wrestle. Kevin Nash, he has had health problems in recent years. I like him in the managerial role. I hope he does not come back to wrestle, specifically because of his health conditions. And Bound for Glory 2 years ago, where at the Fan Fest he had a heart condition. Because of that, I hope he doesn't come back and wrestle. And Bob Backlund, he was retired for God knows how long. You know, again, having him in a managerial role would be pretty darn good. Having him in a wrestling role, especially against promising superstars like Chris Sabin and A-Shell, the Motor City Machine Guns, I don't like this idea. I'm glad Sabin and Shelley got the win over them, and I'm glad they got the win over Lynn, because that would mean a heck of a lot more than them getting the win over Backlund. But, you know, they should not have been in this match, really. I mean, you could have it maybe a triple threat between them and Lynn, but they would have been much better served as a part of the 10-man gauntlet. And in fact, Alex Shelley probably is due for an X Division title shot. So, if Christopher Daniels does win the title back from Samoa Joe, which is probably the best hope that they're going to have of getting the title back off of Samoa Joe and back into meaningful feuds in the open X Division, then maybe Shelley can start getting some title shots off of him. Granted, that would mean that either Christopher Daniels or Shelley go face. And really, since Christopher Daniels has not been heel all that long this time, and because he's flip-flopped back and forth too much as it is, Christopher Daniels should stay heel, Sabin and Shelley, the Motor Machine Guns, turn face, and then have Shelley feud with Christopher Daniels. That way, that would be a match I would love to see. That would be one of my personal dream matches, besides CM Punk and Paul London. And, I would probably even buy a pay-per-view if that was the X Division title. Christopher Daniels and Alex Shelley for the X Division title. I would probably buy a TNA pay-per-view if that match was on the card. Okay, then we have the mixed tag team match. I'm not going to say much about this, except to say congratulations to TNA for giving Young the win. I know Rude is a promising superstar. I don't think he's quite up to the level where he could possibly contend for the World Heavyweight Championship. I think that spot would be better served again by James Storm and Chris Harris. But him putting over Eric Young, who again is another person I hope actually gets more involved with the X Division and goes for an X Division title run, or even another tag team run if he can find a partner. So him getting the win there and further asserting his independence from Robert Roode, that is a good move.